Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be talking about Andrew Yang and the tactical advantage that now presents itself, the opportunity for a tactical advantage that now presents itself to Andrew Yang because of the public disclosing of the unveiling of President Trump's last 10 years of tax information. All right, so this story just broke. Right, the New York Times released a tax transcript, an IRS tax transcript, right, which is tax information that is used, I think they said in like depositions, things like that. And so basically the New York Times got a hold of a IRS tax transcript, a printout of an IRS tax transcript. And what they did was, in order to determine its validity, this IRS tax transcript also contained the tax information of Trump's father, Fred Trump, right? And they already had a copy of Fred Trump's taxes, and they compared what was given to them from Fred Trump's tax returns to their copy. It matched, so they're assuming that the tax information for Trump is accurate. I don't question for 1 minute that the information for Trump's tax returns is accurate. Okay, So basically, here is what Andrew Yang should respond to the press when they ask him about Trump's tax return. This is the appropriate, correct response to gain a tactical advantage in the election race. All right, so here it is. Andrew Yang should defend President Trump against the unethical treatment by the New York Times for disclosing his tax returns, and then also point out that the fact that Donald Trump lost money for 8 out of 10 years, right, that were disclosed for his tax returns, does not indicate that he is a poor businessman or that he didn't know what he was doing financially, right? So Andrew Yang should defend Trump's right to keep his taxes private, and he should defend Trump's business acumen, right? Now, why on earth should a 2020 U.S. presidential primary candidate defend Donald Trump? Well, here's why. One, I think basically just based on the shape of modern-day partisan politics, the vast majority of all the other candidates are going to squee with glee over this divulging of the unveiling of 10 years of President Trump's tax information, right? So one, right out of the gate, Andrew Yang is going to set himself apart if he's on the side actually defending Trump, right? And then the second reason why is it is absolutely correct to defend Trump in this circumstance because the New York Times, CNN, who covered the New York Times, and overall the left Democrats and the media are 100% wrong about unveiling Trump's tax returns, unveiling Trump's tax information. By the way, they don't have his tax returns. They do not have his tax returns, right? The IRS tax transcript is not the same as the tax returns, okay? And then two, the idea that Trump lost money for 8 years out of 10, and that means his business acumen is low, or that he's a poor business person, is ludicrous. And I'm going to tell you why. So let me explain these two things on exactly why Andrew Yang should leap to the defense of Donald Trump in this circumstance. It's the right thing to do. One, what the New York Times did by unveiling Donald Trump's tax information is absolutely, first of all, I'm going to declare this. I think it's legal. I don't think they broke the law in any way, okay? It is unconscionable and completely unethical. And here's why. We the American people have already decided this. We have decided that we do not require anyone who runs for president and anyone who is president to disclose their tax information. We, the American people, have the right to that information if we want it. If we're saying, if you want to run for president, there should be a complete invasion of every aspect of your privacy. We, the American people, have already spoken on this. The lack of a law that requires disclosing of tax returns, it comes from the American people. No senator, no congressperson has created this law because no American person wants it, right? American people are smart enough to realize that the media disclosing information, private information that the government holds to the public is outrageously foolish, right? Like, it boggles my mind I even need to speak about this, right? There are people who have health concerns. There are people who have may make decisions that are connected to their identity, right? Or attributes of their identity. They may be making a decision, right, in the future that would shock their family or that would shock their friends, right? And they need some privacy to make those decisions in private, right? Like, basically, it's outrageous to think that the media can bring forward private information that the government holds and expose it to the public. Now, I hear you. You're saying, oh, that's not the case for Donald Trump. He's a public figure. It's 100% correct. He is a public figure. But we as the American people have already decided that public figures they still get this privacy. They still have the right to have their tax returns completely private, because we want people to enter in to this public sphere without fear of having the liberty to make personal choices in private, right? Like, let's say that I, Scott Garibay, ran for public treasurer in my county, right? But then let's also say that I've decided to transition, right? I'm going to become like that. I've decided in the next 2 or 3 years, I'm going to transition and I'm going to change my my chosen gender, right? Let's say I start to make purchases of this that are clear in my tax return, right? That information should absolutely be protected, right? Doesn't matter if I'm a public figure or not, right? Also, to understand this, just think if the New York Times, so my favorite actor is Ryan Gosling, right? Imagine if tomorrow the New York Times said, hey, check it out, here's Ryan Gosling's tax information, and guess what? He lost money for the last 8 years. Nobody asked for that information, and it doesn't say anything about Ryan Gosling, right? Like, it is wrong. Think if they did the same thing to Oprah Winfrey, right? Both of those are public figures, right? So tomorrow, the New York Times says, we don't care who you are, we can publish your private tax information to the public openly. That is outrageous, unconscionable, and unethical, right? All right, here's the second one. So basically, it was horribly unconscionable, horribly unethical what the New York Times did, in my opinion. All right, and it doesn't matter, and it doesn't matter that it was Donald Trump. It would have been unethical for anyone, right? We, the American people, have already spoken on this issue. We're saying that we desire for people to be able to retain their privacy and to be able to make financial decisions in private, even if they're a public figure. We've already spoken on this issue. And the New York Times is coming and saying, you people, you American public aren't smart enough. We're going to decide for you. And we're going to start exposing public figure after public figure after public figure. We're going to give you their tax info, right? That is unconscionable and unethical, without a doubt, all right? Here's the next one. Right. By the way, I'm no Trump fan. I did not vote for Trump ever. I have no intentions of voting for Trump in 2020. This is wrong if it was done to anyone. Okay, I want that to be super clear. All right. So next issue is, boy, man, I'll tell you, Donald Trump is the most Teflon dude that was ever born. That guy is an absolute genius. The Dems and the media left. Right? The left media thinks that this is going to hurt him. And what they don't understand is they don't understand basic modern finance, right? They are coming from the perspective of saying, oh, look, everybody, Donald Trump lost money 8 out of 10 years. His business acumen is low. right? It's a ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous statement. You could say exactly the same. And here's why, right? They don't understand absolute basic modern finance, right? In the old days, it was like, if you want to spend $20, you need to have 25. You have to have the 20 to spend, and you have to have the 5 to have in your bank account so the fees will come out and you have a little bit extra. That is complete, utter garbage today, right? None of the top wealth movers do that, right? They need, if they want to spend $20, they need 10, right? And then they need someone who's going to loan them 20, and another someone who's going to loan them 20, and they need somebody queued up after they've spent the 50 they have to give them a 30 loan, right? It's all about the flow of your lending, right? The ability to borrow, right? It is classic modern finance, burn to earn. This is what Amazon was stood up on, this principle. Amazon burned cash and made no profits for over a decade. I think they made no profits last year, and the guy who owns them has $160 billion, Jeff Bezos, right? So that's my point, is saying that because someone lost money for 8 years out of 10, their business acumen is low, means you don't understand the words too big to fail. You don't understand basic tech financing. Burn to earn is being used on half of the startups in America, right? Basic modern finance does not match finance even 20 or 30 years ago. People keep saying these nonsense sentences like, well, eventually you're going to have to pay up. No, there are entire nations that are defaulting on loans, and they're just fine. They stand up new governments and they get new loans the next day. There are angel rounds of financing in tech. Finance is way more complicated than you need money to spend it. All you have to do now is to be able to confidently line up lenders. And guess what? Trump knows how to do that in spades. And guess what? Trump was 100% right. He projected success, right, and made it look like he had all the money in the world. And guess what? He then had all the money in the world. The lenders lined up to loan him money, like left and right? And he was 100%. By projecting success, he was able to win the U.S. presidency, right? And then guess what? He's not going to make a lot of money now during his 4 to 8 years in the presidency, but as soon as he gets out, any corporation with a bunch of commas in how much money they have is going to pay him $500,000 to $1 million to $5 million an hour just to speak, right? So he was 100% right. And the New York Times, by saying, look, he lost money for 8 out of 10 years, his business acumen alone exposes their shocking, massive amounts of ignorance about modern finance, right? There is a huge opportunity right here for Andrew Yang specifically to leap to the aid of Donald Trump. And the reason why is Donald Trump has 100% been wronged by the New York Times. What the New York Times did to Donald Trump is unconscionable. It also sends an incredibly dangerous message, right? Watch out, Oprah. Watch out, Ryan Gosling. Watch out, Chris Pratt. Doesn't matter who you are. If you're a public figure, we're going to take your tax info and we're going to show it to the world. And it doesn't matter if you're trying to transition to a new gender. It doesn't matter if you have a child who has a health problem. It doesn't matter if maybe you're trying to give extra support to one of your parents. Doesn't matter if one of your children is really struggling in school and needs a tutor. All that information is going to become completely public because you had the audacity to want to make a movie and entered into the public spotlight. The New York Times actions here are absolutely unconscionable, absolutely unethical, in my opinion. And Andrew Yang can absolutely gain ground by defending Donald Trump in this one rare circumstance where he has actually been wronged, right? And say, I am the presidential candidate who understands nuance, and I will defend every American's right to make personal, private decisions, and that the information the government holds is not going to be spilled out by some media outlet. That if a media outlet spills out information on an American private citizen, on an American public citizen, right? I will be there to decry, to call out the unethical practices of that media outlet. I think this is a very, very distinct opportunity for Andrew Yang. I hope he recognizes it and goes down this road in how he responds to this completely unethical unveiling of President Trump's tax information. That's my take. That's my opinion. I would love to hear your opinion. Let me know in the comments below, please. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.